A family opened their back door and found a 12-foot alligator lounging in their swimming pool like it held the deed to the house. But that was not even close to the most terrifying backyard encounter caught on camera this year. In one quiet suburban neighborhood, a 400-pound black bear ripped open a car door, climbed into the driver's seat, knocked the gear shift, and sent the vehicle rolling downhill with nobody behind the wheel. Join us and let's discover the most insane things ever recorded in people's backyards. Let's go. Number 13. The Duck Stampede. Picture this, a little girl, no older than 5, playing outside on a quiet afternoon when an entire flock of ducks locks onto her like heat-seeking missiles. Her screams pierced through the neighborhood as she sprinted toward her mother, shouting words no parent ever expects to hear during a duck encounter. "Mommy, they are following me!" And they absolutely were. A dozen ducks waddling at maximum velocity, wings half spread, necks outstretched like tiny feathered torpedoes locked on their target. The mother, caught somewhere between laughter and genuine panic, told her daughter to get in the car. The car, as if these birds were armed intruders requiring a full vehicular escape plan. But here is the thing most people do not realize. Ducks can be shockingly aggressive. During mating season, male ducks become territorial enough to chase anything that crosses their invisible boundary line, including confused children who just wanted to say hello. Their flat bills can pinch hard enough to leave bruises, and their wings deliver slaps with the force of a small wooden paddle. Think of a duck charge like a tiny linebacker blitz. Each one only weighs a few pounds, but when 12 of them rush you simultaneously with zero fear and maximum attitude, the psychological impact is devastating. Ornithologists have documented aggressive flocks chasing joggers, cyclists, and even large dogs completely out of public parks. This little girl learned a harsh truth that sunny afternoon. When a duck army decides you are the enemy, diplomacy is permanently off the table. Your only real option is to run. And if you think a gang of angry ducks sounds absurd, wait until you hear what happened when 2 full-grown deer ended up somewhere they absolutely could not escape from.
Number 12. The Deer Pool Rescue. 2 fully grown white-tailed deer somehow ended up thrashing at the bottom of a family's backyard swimming pool, and nobody on the property could figure out how to get them out. The panicked animals kicked wildly in the chlorinated water, hoofs scraping uselessly against the smooth pool liner, their eyes wide with pure, unfiltered terror. Deer are built for forests and open meadows, not 5-foot-deep chemical baths surrounded by concrete walls. Every time they tried to climb out, their legs buckled and they slid right back under the surface. The homeowners called police, because honestly, who else do you call when 200 pounds of wild animal is drowning in your leisure installation? Officers arrived and immediately realized this was absolutely nothing covered at the academy. Using pool nets, towels, and sheer determination, they managed to corner one deer near the shallow end. Imagine trying to wrangle an animal with 4 razor-sharp hooves that is simultaneously exhausted, terrified, and running on pure survival adrenaline. That is exactly what these officers faced. The first deer was hauled over the edge, legs trembling, chest heaving violently. The second one fought even harder, thrashing and kicking as rescuers tried to guide it toward the stairs. After nearly 20 agonizing minutes, both animals were free, soaking wet, traumatized, but alive. Wildlife experts say deer fall into residential pools far more often than anyone thinks, especially during spring when young bucks are disoriented and fleeing predators at full speed. Backyard pools are essentially invisible death traps for animals that cannot comprehend glass-smooth water surfaces. These 2 got incredibly lucky. Many others across the country do not. And as dramatic as a double deer rescue sounds, it is nothing compared to the man who decided a biblical flood was not going to interrupt his weekend chores.
Only 1% of people know the dark truth behind what we are about to show you next. If you want to be part of the few who actually know what's happening in the world, subscribe and leave a like right now. Done? Look at this.
Number 11. The Flood Mower. Streets submerged, cars floating, neighbors evacuating, and one man standing knee-deep in murky brown floodwater, calmly pushing his lawnmower across what used to be his front yard. The video went viral because it captured something deeply and absurdly human, the absolute flat-out refusal to let Mother Nature win. Floodwaters had turned his entire neighborhood into a shallow lake, but this man looked at the situation, looked at his overgrown grass somewhere beneath the surface, and made his decision. The lawn was getting mowed, period. Experts estimate that just 6 inches of moving floodwater can knock a full-grown adult off their feet.
This man was standing in at least 18 inches of it, casually operating a gasoline-powered machine with spinning metal blades, surrounded by water that could be carrying anything from raw sewage to water moccasins. His neighbors probably thought he had completely lost his mind. The internet thought he was a legend. The video racked up millions of views, with comments calling him an absolute king and saying this man runs on pure spite and lawnmower fuel. What most viewers did not realize is how genuinely dangerous this stunt actually was. Floodwater is not just dirty rain. It is a toxic cocktail of bacteria, industrial runoff, and floating debris. The CDC has documented cases of people contracting life-threatening infections simply from wading through contaminated floodwater with an open cut. Operating gas-powered equipment and standing water multiplies the danger exponentially. Think of it like running a toaster inside a bathtub, except the bathtub is your entire neighborhood. But this man clearly operated on a different frequency entirely, one where the HOA warning letter about his grass height was more terrifying than a natural disaster. And speaking of natural forces, the next entry involves something you can watch explode in real time, and it genuinely looks like a miniature apocalypse.
Number 10. The pollen bomb. It looked like a nuclear detonation in miniature, a massive golden yellow cloud erupting from a single tree in someone's backyard, billowing outward like a shockwave of pure biological warfare. The homeowner had simply bumped the tree, or maybe a gust of wind struck it at exactly the wrong angle, and the entire canopy released its stored pollen payload in one catastrophic burst. The cloud expanded so fast and so thick, it temporarily blotted out sunlight across the entire yard. People watching online described it as activating allergies in a 500-mile radius, and they were not entirely wrong. A single birch tree can produce up to 5 billion pollen grains in a single season. 5 billion! If every one of those grains were a grain of sand, you would fill an entire commercial dump truck to the brim. This video captured all of it going airborne from one tree in roughly 3 seconds flat. Allergists classify pollen counts above 150 grains per cubic meter as very high. During a pollen bomb event like this, localized counts can spike past 10,000 grains per cubic meter. That is roughly 65 times the danger threshold, concentrated in a single backyard. The homeowner was standing inside nature's version of a chemical weapons test. No mask, no warning, no escape route. Just a golden mushroom cloud and the instant realization that every mucous membrane in their body was about to stage a full revolt. For people with severe allergies, exposure at this level can trigger anaphylactic reactions requiring emergency medical treatment. This is not just sneezing and itchy eyes, this is ambulance territory. And if an invisible airborne assault sounds terrifying, wait until the sky above one quiet neighborhood turned black with something far more alarming than tree dust.
Number 9. The bird swarm. They appeared out of nowhere. Thousands of them. One moment the sky was clear, and the next an enormous black cloud of birds descended on a residential neighborhood, like a scene ripped directly from a horror film. The homeowner filming could barely speak. Invasion of the birds out here. They just came out of nowhere. The video confirmed every ounce of their terror. Trees, rooftops, fences, power lines, every available surface was blanketed in birds. Their collective screeching created a wall of sound so dense it drowned out traffic and conversation completely. Scientists call this a roost invasion. During winter months, certain bird species gather in mega flocks numbering in the hundreds of thousands and collectively descend on a chosen location at dusk. They pick a neighborhood seemingly at random, and when they arrive, they coat every surface in a layer of droppings so thick it makes sidewalks dangerously slippery. The stench alone has driven families indoors for days. But the real danger is medical. Health departments have issued formal warnings about histoplasmosis, a serious lung infection caused by a fungus that thrives in accumulated bird droppings. In extreme cases, entire neighborhoods have required professional biohazard decontamination after a sustained roost invasion. Think of it as a hostile military occupation, except the invaders each weigh 3 ounces and there are 50,000 of them. The homeowner stood there with a trembling camera, watching their property vanish beneath a living, screaming blanket of feathers. They could do absolutely nothing except film and wait it out. And just when you think the sky could not possibly deliver anything stranger to a quiet neighborhood, the next entry proves that the truly bizarre literally falls from the clouds.
Number 8. The runaway hot air balloon.
A quiet suburban street, families inside their homes, kids doing homework. And then, without a single second of warning, a full-sized hot air balloon drifted over the rooftops and began an uncontrolled descent directly toward the houses below. The footage looks unreal. This enormous, brightly colored balloon, the kind you see floating peacefully over wine country, coming in fast toward a row of residential homes like a slow-motion meteor with a wicker basket attached. Witnesses scrambled for their phones as the basket scraped across front lawns, clipped wooden fences, and narrowly avoided crashing through a window. The average recreational hot air balloon stands about 70 feet tall. That is a 7-story building hovering over your house. It carries a gondola capable of holding 16 passengers and is powered by propane burners, generating flames hot enough to melt steel. When wind conditions shift suddenly, the pilot has almost zero ability to steer laterally. They can go up and they can come down. Horizontal movement is entirely controlled by whatever the wind decides. If a gust shoves the balloon toward a neighborhood, the pilot's options narrow down to adjusting altitude and hoping. The FAA has documented over 200 hot air balloon incidents in the last decade alone, with unexpected wind shifts during landing cited as the leading cause in almost every case. Imagine sitting in your backyard, sipping coffee on a Saturday morning, hearing a strange roaring hiss above you, and looking up to see a structure the size of a building descending toward your patio. That is exactly what these residents experienced. The balloon eventually dragged across multiple properties before stopping. Miraculously, nobody was seriously hurt. But if a crashing balloon is the ultimate surprise delivery, wait until you see what happens when something on your own patio detonates.
Number 7. The barbecue explosion. Oh my God, my barbecue just exploded. Those exact words were captured on camera the moment a backyard grill transformed from weekend cooking station into a raging fireball. The homeowner's voice carried pure disbelief, the kind of shock that only hits when something you have used 100 times suddenly tries to kill you. Propane grill explosions are far more common than the industry wants anyone to know. The National Fire Protection Association reports roughly 7,000 residential fires per year in the United States caused by grills, with propane models accounting for the overwhelming majority. The mechanism is terrifyingly simple. Gas leaks from a loose fitting or cracked hose, pools invisibly inside the closed grill lid, and the instant someone hits the igniter, they are lighting a propane bomb sitting 3 feet from their back door. The explosion in this video launched grill components across the yard like metal shrapnel. The fireball climbed high enough to scorch the patio covering overhead, and the blast was loud enough to send multiple neighbors sprinting outside to investigate. To understand the force involved, consider this. A standard 20-pound propane tank contains energy equivalent to roughly 13 sticks of dynamite. During normal cooking, that energy releases slowly through controlled combustion over hours. In an explosion, a significant portion detonates in under 1 second. That is like setting off a small demolition charge next to your potato salad. This homeowner was lucky. They were standing far enough away to escape with nothing worse than singed eyebrows and a ruined weekend. Fire departments nationwide use clips exactly like this one in public safety campaigns, because nothing convinces people to check their grill connections quite like watching someone else's explode in high definition. But exploding grills are at least preventable. The next entry involves a creature that shows up completely uninvited, and you can't exactly ask it to leave.
Number 6. The backyard moose. Come here, Steve, come here! That was a homeowner desperately screaming at their dog while a fully grown bull moose stood in the backyard staring at the chaos with mild irritation. Steve the dog had absolutely zero survival instincts and was barking furiously at an animal that outweighed him by a solid 1,000 pounds. A mature bull moose stands over 6 feet tall at the shoulder and tips the scale at 1,500 pounds. Their antlers alone span up to 6 feet across and are dense enough to cave in a car windshield on contact. They are the largest members of the deer family, and they are not gentle. Here's a fact that shocks almost everyone who hears it. Moose injure more people annually in North America than bears and wolves combined. That is not a mistake. These seemingly calm animals are responsible for more human injuries per year than actual apex predators. They are unpredictable, remarkably fast, and when they feel cornered, they become explosively violent. They kick in every direction with hooves that hit like sledgehammers, and they charge at speeds up to 35 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, that is faster than Usain Bolt running at his absolute peak. Imagine a living SUE with bone antlers sprinting directly at you across your own backyard. That is a charging moose. The homeowner in this video was smart enough to stay inside. Steve clearly never received that memo. The moose stood its ground with ears pinned flat, a universal warning signal that any wildlife expert would translate as, "I am about 2 seconds from ending your whole afternoon." Fortunately, Steve was dragged inside before the situation escalated from comedy clip to emergency vet visit. But if a moose in your yard sounds terrifying, the next entry involves a disaster that was entirely preventable until gravity made other plans.
Uh-oh, watch out, here it goes, and it is going the wrong way. Those were the last words spoken before a backyard tree removal turned into a full-blown catastrophe. The homeowner had hired someone to take down a large tree, and the footage captured the exact moment the trunk began its descent in the precise opposite direction of where it was supposed to land. Instead of falling safely into the open yard, the tree swung toward the house, obliterated a fence, and slammed into a structure with enough force to rattle the camera from 30 feet away. The person filming could barely process what happened. Well, I do not think I got that, but that was not good at all. Improper tree felling is one of the most common sources of devastating residential property damage in the country. The International Society of Arboriculture estimates it causes hundreds of millions of dollars in destruction every single year. The physics involved are simple but absolutely merciless. A mature hardwood tree weighs between 2,000 and 10,000 pounds. Once it begins to fall, it generates rotational momentum that no human force on Earth can redirect or reverse. If the notch cut angles incorrectly by just a few degrees, or if hidden internal rot has quietly shifted the tree's center of gravity over decades, the trunk goes exactly where physics dictates, not where the cutter planned. Think of it like tipping a bowling ball off a table. Once gravity takes control, your intentions become completely irrelevant. That is precisely why certified arborists use guide ropes, mechanical cranes, and mathematical calculations for every single cut. Everyone in this video walked away physically unharmed, but the property damage was massive, and the contractor's wallet took a fatal hit. And if a falling tree sounds like the ultimate backyard nightmare, the next threat does not crash down from above, it slithers in from below.
Number 4, the backyard snake. The broom was doing overtime. That was the only barrier standing between a terrified homeowner and a snake that had claimed their backyard as its new permanent address. The footage shows someone wielding a standard household broom, desperately trying to pin a snake to the ground, while another person shouts panicked instructions from a safe distance. "Try and see if you can hold its mouth down." The response captured everything. The broom is not going to hold it. They were absolutely right. A determined snake can generate enough striking force to snap a thin wooden handle clean in half. The average venomous snake strikes at speeds between 6 and 8 feet per second, which is faster than the human eye can reliably track. By the time your brain registers the blur of movement, the fangs have already made contact with skin. In the southern United States, residential snake encounters happen with alarming frequency. The CDC reports approximately 7,000 to 8,000 venomous snake bites per year in the country, and a disproportionate percentage of those occur in ordinary suburban yards. Copperheads, water moccasins, and timber rattlesnakes are the most common offenders, and all three species have adapted remarkably well to neighborhoods. They are attracted to exactly the landscaping features homeowners love: rock walls, stacked firewood, lush garden beds, and decorative water features. Every one of those is essentially a 5-star snake resort. The snake in this video was eventually handled by an animal control officer who approached it with the calm confidence of someone who has done this 1,000 times before. The homeowner watched from behind a window, likely already drafting a real estate listing in their head, because once you have battled a snake with a broom in your own yard, the property never feels quite the same. And if a venomous visitor sounds like nightmare fuel, the next entry strikes from the sky with absolutely zero warning.
Number 3, the lightning strike. That was a lightning strike. And yeah, they are pretty powerful. Those understated words accompanied footage of the exact moment a bolt of lightning detonated in someone's backyard with the force of a small explosive device. The flash was so intense, the camera sensor whited out completely. The thunderclap hit a fraction of a second later, a crack so violent it triggered car alarms on 3 separate streets. Lightning is one of nature's most casually underestimated killers. A single bolt carries up to 1 billion volts of electricity and reaches temperatures of 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That is roughly 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. When it strikes ground, it can fuse sand into solid glass, split a full-grown oak in half lengthwise, and blast a crater in your lawn that looks like a miniature meteor impact.
The United States alone gets struck approximately 25 million times per year. The odds of your specific property taking a hit over a 30-year mortgage are far higher than most homeowners would ever guess, roughly 1 in 200 in lightning-prone regions. The person filming was watching the storm from what they thought was a safe distance behind a window. They were wrong. The bolt hit less than 50 feet from their house. The surge raced through the soil, destroyed the sprinkler system, tripped every breaker in the panel, and scorched a mark into the grass that was still visible a month later. Here's the part that haunts scientists. Lightning does not need direct contact to kill. Ground current, the electricity radiating outward through wet earth from the point of impact, is responsible for more annual deaths than the bolt itself. Standing barefoot on damp grass within 30 feet of a strike can send lethal current up one leg and down the other, stopping a heart in under a second. But if nature's most powerful instant weapon terrifies you, the next entry proves that sometimes the danger strolls in on 4 paws and brings the kids.
Number 2. The Bear Pool Party. A mother black bear and her cubs climbed into a family's backyard swimming pool in broad daylight and flatly refused to leave. The footage shows Mama Bear wading comfortably in the shallow end, while her cubs splashed, wrestled, and generally treated the pool like their personal water park. The homeowner watched helplessly through a locked sliding glass door, almost certainly calculating the cost of draining, scrubbing, and completely resanitizing their pool after a family of wild bears used it as a communal bathtub. That bill is not small. Bear fur carries concentrated oils, parasites, and bacteria that contaminate water far beyond what any standard chemical treatment can neutralize. Pool owners who have experienced bear visits report total drain and sanitize costs running well above $2,000. But the financial damage is honestly the least of your worries. A female black bear actively protecting her cubs is classified as one of the single most dangerous wildlife encounters on the entire North American continent. She can sprint at 30 miles per hour, scale a tree faster than a professional arborist with climbing gear, and swipe with claws that generate enough raw force to peel a car door open like a sardine tin. The mother bear in this clip appeared relaxed, and that is genuinely the best possible outcome. A calm bear soaking in your pool is infinitely preferable to an agitated one tearing through your kitchen. Wildlife officials stress that the absolute worst thing you can do in this scenario is try to frighten the bears away. A startled mother with cubs nearby does not flee, she charges. This homeowner made the right call. Stay inside, stay silent, let the bears finish their swim on their own terms. But if a bear family commandeering your pool sounds like the peak of suburban insanity, the number 1 entry on this list involves a bear that did something so outrageous it shattered the internet.
Number 1. The carjacking bear. We have all seen bears raid trash cans. We have watched them lounge in pools and wander across porches. But absolutely nothing on earth could have prepared anyone for the bear that broke into a parked car, hauled itself into the driver's seat, knocked the gear shift out of park, and sent the vehicle rolling downhill through a residential neighborhood with 0 humans behind the wheel. The footage looks completely fabricated. A full-grown black bear sitting in the front seat of a family SUV, massive paws resting on the dashboard as the car slowly rolls down a driveway and drifts silently into the open street. Neighbors watching from their windows could not mentally process the image. A bear in a car, rolling through their neighborhood on a regular Tuesday afternoon. Wildlife officials later explained the mechanics. Bears in suburban areas have learned to open car doors by hooking their claws under handles, a behavior that has become alarmingly common wherever humans leave food inside vehicles. This particular bear likely smelled snacks through a cracked window, grabbed the handle, squeezed its massive frame inside, and accidentally bumped the transmission out of park. The chaos that followed was instant. The car rolled across the street, jumped the curb, and came to rest wedged against a neighbor's mailbox. The bear, apparently unfazed by its brief career as an unlicensed getaway driver, squeezed out through the passenger window and lumbered casually back into the tree line. The vehicle's interior was destroyed, seats shredded to foam, claw gouges carved into every plastic surface, windshield cracked from the inside, and the permanent, unforgettable stench of a 400-pound apex mammal trapped in an enclosed cabin for 20 solid minutes. Insurance companies in bear territory now report a surge in claims filed under animal damage to vehicle interior. This single clip is Exhibit A in every case. The internet predictably lost its collective mind. Bears out here stealing cars before GTA 6 drops became one of the most shared comments in the video's history. And honestly, that sentence captures it perfectly.
If you thought this was terrifying, you are not ready for what they found in the video on your screen. Click it right now. The truth is worse than you think.